First of all, very pleased to be here. My name's Andrew Greenway. I'm the Accenture program lead for cloud globally. So my responsibility is to help equip Accenture so that we can support all of our clients in the journey they're now going through with cloud. I'm also the European cloud lead, so I have a sales target of services we're looking to sell around cloud as well. I think these sorts of events have been very useful, and I applaud Emma and her team for pulling this group together, and for the way that it's helped to demystify some of the hype around cloud. I think it's been used to cover a whole multitude of sins within the IT industry, and I think these sorts of forums are very useful to ask those questions, to really understand what's real and what's not real, and focus on the things that can really move your business forward. So over the next few minutes, I'm going to talk a little bit about what's changed over the last 12 months, the hype that we've all heard, how much of that has been real, and are people, what are people really doing, and how much it really is just hype. I think as Accenture, we're well positioned to comment on this. I mean, we have literally thousands of projects now around cloud computing that we're working on around the world with all sorts of different organizations in government, in various different industry sectors, and in different parts of the world. And so I have a view of what we are really doing, what clients are asking us to work with them on, and so I'm going to share some of that with you today. Okay, if you just look at some of the changes we've seen in the marketplace over the last 12 months, I think it's been phenomenal. Almost every couple of days there's another announcement coming out. Someone's bought somebody else, somebody's just launched a new product, someone's just taken an old product and made it cloud ready. It's been phenomenal growth in the market. And I think the investment that's going in from some of the players that you see here, and you'll hear about some of the changes that Google and Microsoft have been implementing shortly, just show the health of the market. I think if you're a software provider at the moment and you want to get some investment from a venture capitalist, unless it's based on the cloud, you're going to have no chance. The market has sort of gone ahead already and is expecting this to be the way that IT is delivered in the future. It's probably going to take 2 or 3 more years before it becomes totally mainstream, but clearly that is the direction now that we're all heading on, and I don't see any reason why that isn't going to continue. Okay, so what are our clients really doing? We're seeing real investment going in 4 areas. Okay, and in fact, mostly on the far left and the far right. This is where the real dollars are being spent at the moment. So on the right-hand side, we are seeing many organizations now, large and small, implementing mission-critical software as a service solutions. And there are some great products and services on the market now with several years of experience of delivering these sorts of products and services. So the likes of your Microsoft, your Google, your Salesforce.com, NetSuite, Workday, Viva, and so on, those are really good products. And we are now working with many clients to implement those products. We're the number 1 implementer of Salesforce.com by a factor of 2 or 3 now. And those are now going into very large organizations. I think if you talked to me a year ago, companies were sort of doing some pilots, some early stage. I think the small and medium-sized organizations had gone further, and the bigger companies were still sort of, what is this? Is it time to invest? We've now clearly moved on from that, and now companies are saying, okay, let's go, let's do it. And so that's been a very fast-growing part of the market, and it clearly is getting towards maturity in certain areas. The other one that's growing really quickly, and we're seeing significant investment in, is on the infrastructure side. So companies who've got a whole load of investment in infrastructure, they're looking at how can they get more out of that. So first of all, by virtualizing. Secondly, by putting automation on top of that so they can manage it more effectively and start to offer a much more responsive and agile service to the rest of their business. And they're now looking at how can we also attach onto that some private cloud capacity, some public cloud capacity, so that we can offer a flexible pool of infrastructure resource in a very agile, very flexible way to the business. And many organizations are now going down that journey, trying to figure out how they can get much more out of their infrastructure and start to leverage public cloud capacity. And that is pretty much, every discussion that we have with the company about infrastructure, that's what they're now interested in doing. Where we haven't yet seen as much growth as I had hoped is in the middle two. And that's around companies looking to build applications on the cloud. Okay, there are some, but they tend to be your sort of small and medium criticality applications, pilot type efforts. What I think certainly bigger organizations are looking to do is to make sure that any investments they make now in building new applications, they want to do on their own infrastructure or within a private cloud, but they want to make sure that they have a line of sight to being able to move that into the public cloud at some point in the future. So they don't want to tie themselves into a type of technology which is going to restrict them to where they can move in the future. And I think some of the changes I showed on the previous slide are really going to help that. We're seeing more and more of the platform providers offering both a platform that can run in a private environment in your own data center, but also give you a roadmap or a path to then move those applications into the cloud at a future date. So I'm now just going to spend a couple of minutes talking about each one of these in a bit more detail. Okay, so software as a service. Why is it really caught on? Why are we seeing so much activity around it at the moment? I think the first thing is speed. I think gone are the days when businesses are prepared to put up with 18-month or 2-year implementations of new pieces of software. The business world is just moving too fast. And software as a service means that you can quite easily take a full functional piece of software with a lot of the functionality that you need, and you can implement it with a number of users literally within a few days. All the infrastructure and everything comes with it. It comes as a service. You can then work with that, using real live transactions to make sure you configure it in a way that's going to be most suitable for you, and then start to roll it out. So that sort of agile development is very attractive to companies. And as I say, it allows them to start getting the benefits much quicker. And that, I think, is clearly a key benefit for software as a service. The second one is the total cost to maintain it going forward. The big saving here I see is in the way that upgrades are done. If you look at the traditional way we've implemented software over the years, it's involved taking the disks, loading it up on your infrastructure, you make loads of changes to it. 2 or 3 years later, you find actually we're completely out of date with the release that the software vendor is now on. We now need to upgrade to that release in order to get the functionality we now want. That's a multi-month, multi-person effort to do that. It's going to cost a lot of money, and that's very painful usually as well. The beauty of software as a service is that generally all those upgrades happen automatically. Every 3 months, every 4 months, depending on the release cycle, you will get upgraded along with all the other customers of that software. Because you're buying the service, you're not actually buying the software. Which means you automatically stay up to date. You can choose the functionality that you want. You may have to make some compromises around the functionality, but that is a very powerful and a very cost-effective way to implement software. So that, I think, is very attractive to a number of companies. Okay, and the last one, I think, is the flexibility. Many of the leading software as a service providers also have programming toolkits, platforms that come with it, which means that it's very easy to take the core and then for you to create some of your own applications on the side to meet your specific business need. Okay, so that's, again, I think, a key strength of the software as a service market. Okay, I think we're seeing a huge number of companies entering this market and gradually moving their way up this maturity curve. Some of them really now are mature, others are still on their way. And I think you can see here as well which functions are most mature. Probably Salesforce automation is top. Email and collaboration would be another one I say is we're right up there. Others are still still in development. Okay, I think another area where we're seeing a lot of activity with cloud is in companies looking at how they can take all their legacy applications and start to move them into the cloud to get some benefits from it. The top half of that is where I would say we're seeing most of that happening at the moment. We expect the bottom half to follow on shortly as well. Okay, I won't go through all these because I know we're pressed for time. But I'm sure we can get a copy of these slides to everyone if they'd like. So if you're sitting there, 80% of your budget is going on keeping the old stuff going, and you're wondering how can I reduce that, I would target the top half of this first, and then start thinking about the bottom half. Okay, and in terms of where you would do that, these are the 5 platforms that we are seeing starting to take a lead in the market. So it depends on what technology your old stuff runs on as to which one of these is going to be most applicable to you, what sort of standards you had within your IT shop. But these are the 5 platforms that we're seeing starting to emerge. And again, I won't go through all these in the interest of time, but they'll come to you when Emma sends the file through. Okay, now looking at infrastructure, I think we're getting over some of the, just the knee-jerk reaction to, I don't want to put stuff in the cloud because I will lose control. I think people are beyond that. But there are still some real concerns around regulation of data. Certain industries require you to do certain things with your data. They have to be in certain geographic locations. You have to do various things. And so there are different requirements for different sorts of applications. And taking a approach where you figure out what is it that I need for this specific application is something that I think you all need to do before you get too far down the road in choosing an infrastructure as a service vendor. Okay, and some stuff you may decide, actually, it's not ready for the cloud. There's too many restrictions on what this data, I can't send that out into the cloud. Others, maybe no problem. And I would encourage you to go through this sort of approach in thinking through what is this application, what does it need? And once you've done that, you can then map that onto this sort of picture for your infrastructure, with on the right-hand side, public cloud stuff. So that could be your Amazons, your Microsofts, your Googles. And on the left-hand side is going to be your own data center. And there are going to be different variations within that. And different industries are going to have different requirements placed on them and a different appetite for risk. But having that all managed as a seamless whole is crucial. And that's where we're spending a lot of time with our clients, is figuring out that roadmap. How can they build this sort of infrastructure map? And how can they make sure that they keep control over it, that they manage security, identity, and the ability to move load across the different sort of sources of infrastructure to best optimize their infrastructure. Okay, so just to summarize, I think as an industry, we've made great progress in the last 12 months. I really do. I really think we've moved from piloting stuff to now we're really doing serious work. We're now industrializing. But what I would say is I think we're just scratching the surface. I think if you look at these 1, 2, and 3 here, which is the sort of value from cloud, I think really we're just working on 1 at the moment. We're looking at how can we leverage IT capabilities to cut out some cost, increase the efficiency. Okay, so that's good, and we all need that, but that's really all I think we've done so far. Where I think we'll go next is to start using these elastic services, this agility, this speed that I talked about, to really start looking at some of the business processes within business and how can we unlock some of that potential? How can we work better with our suppliers? How can we share information down the supply chain? How can we share information with our consumers and change the way that we work? And I think that's going to be another wave of change that we'll see coming on the back of cloud. And then beyond that, I think we're going to be able to start thinking about whole new ways to do business. There are applications that we haven't even thought of around the data that we all work with every day, the sorts of data that people, that our stakeholders in our business would be interested in having. And starting to have those discussions, I think, is where the real excitement and the real opportunity with cloud comes. And we really aren't yet there yet. I think we're still working at level 1. And I think we're going to see over the next year or two starting to get more and more involved in these discussions around levels 2 and level 3, which I think is very exciting. Okay, that was all I wanted to say. I'm going to be around for the panel later on, so if there are any questions, perhaps I'll take them then.